So I'm a firm believer that it's not the size of the deck, but what you do with it. How much fun could a game consisting of only 18 cards actually be? Great question. Let's take a look at Shallow Regrets. Shallow Regrets is a card game for 2 to 3 players. Thematically, the players are preparing for the worst fishing trip of their lives. Setup is quite simple. Just shuffle the 18 cards and deal 3 cards into 6 piles, or shoals as the game calls them. And a shoal is basically like a school or group of fish. I was not familiar with that terminology until I discovered this game and had to Google that to figure that out. I'd like to pause for just a moment and mention that this is a prototype copy provided by the publisher and things are subject to change. Click subscribe, leave a comment down below. Click the notification bell. It's like the trifecta that the YouTubes likes. Thanks. Boop. Anywho, once you deal out 6 piles, you need to ensure that at least 3 of the stacks have a 0 on top of the card. These numbers on the bottom of each one of the card kind of gives a clue as to the strength or how many fish hooks you need to have in order to catch that fish. The player that has had the most regretful day goes first. On a player's turn, they will go fishing in one of these 6 shoals. Basically, they will draw 2 cards, and they draw them one at a time looking at the cards. So I could draw this card, and then I could draw that card, or I could draw one from another pile. Then players will examine those 2 cards. They will keep 1 card that they can catch, and then they must return the other one to one of the 6 piles on the table. When they throw this fish back, they cannot cover any zeros. Once they have chosen the card, they will place it face up in front of them. Then play will continue to the player to the left. But in order to keep a card, the players have to have sufficient hooks. You start off with 0 hooks, so you can only keep the small cards. For instance, like this one here. This one requires 0 hooks. This card also gave me a hook. So on my next turn, I could catch a fish that requires 0 or 1 hooks. And in this manner, players will become stronger and stronger and stronger and be able to catch larger and larger fish. So now's a great time to pause and go over the anatomy of a card. In the upper left-hand corner is the point value. These are what you're trying to get, and this is how you win. Below that is the number of hooks that card provides. These range from 0 to 2. And then in the upper right-hand corner is the amount of hooks needed in order to catch this fish. Below that, it will state if it is a foul or a fair fish. The fish come in 2 different colors, green, which are foul, and blue, which are fair. This matters because the player with the most green foul fish at the end of the game will lose 2 points. And then at the very bottom of the card is where the game gets tasty. These are special abilities that each fish can be used to activate, only once per game, so use them sparingly and wisely. And should you have enough hooks to keep multiple cards? You can't. You can still only keep 1 and you have to throw all the rest back. Sorry. And play will continue like that until the table is empty or no players have enough hooks to actually catch any of the fish left on the table. Prior to fishing or drawing your cards, players can activate any number of fish card abilities in front of them. And these abilities do all kinds of crazy stuff, such as swapping cards with other players, or being able to draw more than 2 cards at your turn, or some of them just give you extra hooks during your turn to catch bigger fish. Some of them will allow you to exhaust other players' fishies to keep them from being able to use their abilities, which is totally rude. For instance, this card here, if I were to activate this prior to my turn, this allows me to look at all cards in one shoal and return them in any order. So I can pick this one here and I can look at every one of those cards. Some of those are pretty tasty. So maybe I'll return that one on the bottom and then these 2 on top. Now I know what those 2 cards on top are. Maybe I like one of them, so I could take the top one and then that's a 0 one there. So I can definitely catch that, but I have 1 hook. So maybe I'll push my luck and then draw this card here because I know it has a cost of 1 or 2 hooks. And let's see, it requires 1 hook, so I could capture that card as well. So now I have to ask myself, do I want to take this card because it's worth 2 points, or do I want to take this card that is worth 0 points? But then I need to consider the abilities that each one of the fish does. Which one will better suit me in the long run? But play will continue like that until all the cards are gone or no one can catch any more fishes. And as I stated previously, the player with the most green fish loses 2 points, and then the player with the most points is the victor. And that is Shallow Regrets in a nutshell. In a clamshell. This game is super easy to teach and it's quite fast. It's probably only about 10, maybe 15 minutes with the teach. The rules are clear and it is very, very portable. As you can see from this picture, it fits onto a Chipotle table. and those tables aren't very large. The theme and the art in this game is extremely awesome and fun. I love the whole aesthetic and vibe that this game has, but I totally dig the kind of push your luck nature of the game, where you would draw 2 cards, but you draw them one at a time from different piles and kind of look at them and examine them. So maybe you have 3 hooks, maybe draw a 3 through 5 hook cost card and take a look at it, and oh crap, that one requires 4 hooks. I only have 3 hooks. Maybe you pause and think, you know, maybe I'll take a card that I know I can actually catch rather than pushing my luck. And then it's also got some extra strategy too when you are placing the cards back, because now you have knowledge of what another card is. Or maybe you want to use those cards too to kind of bury other cards that are still on the table. And I guess in that aspect, the game does have a slight memory aspect to it. However, it doesn't really bother me in this game. In some games where memory or memorization of things, where it's critical to be successful in the game, that does kind of detract from the fun for me. But for me, in this game, it doesn't bother me. And the game can be a little mean, especially with the swapping of cards. However, there are ways to mitigate that. For instance, there's a card that keeps other players from being able to mess with you until your next turn, or maybe you take cards that will deactivate other players' cards, so that way you can kind of nerf their attacks. But also, even if you do get kind of screwed over, the game is only 10 to 15 minutes, so, you know, it's not like you spent 90 minutes or 120 minutes sitting at the table for a player to just totally screw you over and the whole last hour, 2 hours be a waste of time. This is a fantastic 2 to 3 player game. I think it plays well with both player counts. I played it with, you know, both 2 and 3 players, and it's fine with both player counts. I don't really prefer one over the other, but it is a quick yet satisfying, clever game. And here is a link to another review of mine for another fantastic 2-player game, Dracula vs. Van Helsing. Top-notch 2-player game. Definitely check that one out. And if you found this episode entertaining or informative, please click that subscribe button, and thanks for watching. I watched it bounce all the way down the stairs, and I tried to not not get distracted, but I couldn't make it through.